If it's Monday, it's the social newsroom. My name is Danish Odongo, and I'm standing in for the amazing Mark Masai. Welcome to yet another conversation, and today I'm privileged to host such a powerful lineup. I'll introduce them briefly, but before that, we will not forget Rex Masai. We will not forget Mr. Alberto Juang. We will not forget Mr. Nganga, who's actually still in hospital up to right now. But before we move forward and have this conversation, allow me to introduce my panel. And I'll start with the lady who recently made the news when she grabbed, a mask off an officer's face. That was very bold of you. Tell us your name, maybe for those who don't know you. I think everybody knows you.
My name is Shakira Wafula.
Yeah.
I like to refer to myself as an active citizen,
Okay.
but people insist I'm an activist. I'm a fitness instructor,
Okay.
and I'm currently studying for Bachelor of Science in Sports and Exercise Science.
Wow. I think Makofi for the three of us who are here. Fantastic work you're doing. Mr. Ademba, that's your name?
Hello, good people.
Yeah.
My name is Ademba Alans.
Okay.
I'm a journalist by profession. Most people call me student journalist because of the documentary that you all know.
Yeah.
But I'm also an active citizen.
Okay.
I don't want to refer to myself as an activist, as most people refer to me. But yes, if you choose to refer to me as an activist, it's okay, because activists are active citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think let's start that conversation from there. Why are we very careful not to be referred to as activists? Is it that maybe in our mind we attribute that perhaps definition to have a certain negative connotation because of how it's been profiled? Or what is it about that? Let's start with you, Shakira.
For me, it's not necessarily about negativity or anything. Yeah. When I think of an activist, there are people who it's their day-to-day business to call for justice, follow up on social issues and things like that. Yeah. But that's not me. I still continue with my main responsibility, which is being a mother. I'm also a student, and again, I have clients and I hold group classes at the gym. So I refer to active citizenship because in whatever spaces I occupy, I find a way to attach those spaces with my civic duties. Okay. And it's not something that I do for a living. Yeah. It's just something that is part of my normal day-to-day activity.
I like that. And Mr. Demba, what do you think?
Of the recent,
yeah,
people have come to add the term commercial activist.
Yeah.
And so when you call yourself an activist, people honestly put it as a profession. Your profession is activism. You earn a living through being an activist. Yeah. I myself am a journalist by profession. I create films. Yeah. I have my business, which I cannot mention because of the controversy around whatever is happening right now. Yeah. So if I call myself an active citizen, yeah, that means that I cannot stand to see injustice happen just because I'm a journalist and my profession is journalism. So I cannot go to the street to champion for the right or wrong that is happening in the country. Yeah. So that's why I introduce myself as a journalist, not an activist. Because the moment I will say that I'm an activist, yeah, you'll say, okay, so he's being paid to do whatever he's doing. No, I'm not being paid to do whatever I'm doing. I'm doing this thing because I love it, because I'm a Kenyan. Before I was a journalist, I was born Kenyan. Yeah. And that I have to stick to people's mind, that before you become the profession that you have, before you become a doctor, lawyer, you are born Kenyan. That is what I stick with. I was a Kenyan before I was a journalist.
Okay. All right. And I think it's important that we, first of all, demystify that. An activist is anybody. You can be an engineer and an activist. You can actually be a journalist and an activist, a gym instructor and an activist. And I think what you guys have done, I was saying this before we went on air, is that majority of you have completely changed how we see active citizenship, or the space that they take in the public sphere. So what is it? At what point did you get so enraged that you say, okay, it's not enough that I do fitness training, but also I want to go to the street and I'm actually going to have this iconic pose that we remember till today. And there's a mural somewhere along Gong Road that still has your brand on it. At what point, what was it that broke the camel's back?
I'm somebody, I feel like a lot of Kenyans, we follow what is happening quietly. If we get an opportunity to complain, we'll do it in our small circles, maybe with our friends, with our families, and then do nothing further about it. And I used to follow a lot of what Boniface Mwangi does when he started with Team Courage. There's this one time he did a walk for civic education, and it was also a protest when he started all the way from Kisumu coming to Nairobi. And I wondered, what is this that will push a man to this extent? And now I started looking into what he does and why he does it, and I realized that a lot more Kenyans should be involved. A lot more Kenyans should be concerned with human rights situations in our country. And for a long time, like I mentioned earlier, I referred to myself as a keyboard warrior because I thought beyond typing online and putting up posts, there isn't much more that I could do. But come last year, there was, at the end of January, there was this march against femicide. And it was organized. I saw the way it was organized. A lot of it was done on social media, and it was just young women my age, and I had purposed to attend that march, but something within me told me, you can't go. I also had the excuse of, I have exams, I need to focus on exams, so I didn't go. But I saw it online, and I had this FOMO, like, why didn't I participate in something like this? The previous year, I'd also seen Masita Rus when she stood up in that town hall, and she questioned about this money that they had given out, and they had been promised that they're going to be taken to Finland for studies, and none of that was happening. So by the time the finance bill was coming up, I was out of school. Actually, it's the time of our long holidays. I didn't have the excuse of, like, I don't know, any exams, nini. And then usually Tuesday is a slow day at the gym. And I literally was grasping around me, looking for an excuse why I can't be on the streets protesting, and I didn't find any. I was like, you know what? It is your time. Finally, it is your time. And I stepped on the streets, and I remember when I was leaving the house is when news started coming in of Hanifa being arrested. And my mother asked me, are you sure that you want to go? And I was like, you know what, the reason why the situation is as bad as it is because not enough people complained at the right time. So I decided I can no longer sit back and hide behind a keyboard. It was time for me to be out on the streets, and out on the streets I went.
And as they say, the rest
is history.
Ademba?
You know, for me,
Yeah.
First of all, I'm born and raised in a place where you see the social injustices firsthand.
Okay.
You see everything. You're not told, you see them. You see the political class trying to manipulate people. You see the political class use the public funds for their own benefit. And also, adding to the journalism aspect of it, when you're a journalist, you get to see this thing again in another angle. Because there are things that you witness every day. Monday to Friday, you see these things happening. Now, prior to the last year's protest that happened between 18th all the way to Nane and all the way to the Stop Abductions KE, I was a journalist, and I was just documenting what was happening actually. But on a side, I was also demonstrating, because once you're in the street, you know why you are there. There's no way that you can say you are in the street, but you're not demonstrating. At some point, I found myself being one of the demonstrators, at the same time recording the videos. So when Rex Masai died, that is when a lot of things started changing for me, because you find you recorded videos of different people. You know, Rex Masai died, and a lot of people now started disappearing. Then when it came to June 25th, then things got worse. And me being on the front line, and I had the badge, I witnessed a lot of it. By then, I was just still a normal journalist documenting the protests. So I recorded a couple of videos. I was, I don't know if it's adrenaline or something, but I was in the front line. I myself, I was not aware that I was in the front line. And I recorded those videos. And when BBC reached out, okay, I presented the videos, I did the interviews. And so when the documentary came out, people stopped viewing me as a journalist, but mostly as an activist, because of the interviews that I did, the letters and everything. Now, okay, you have to also go with the wave. People already brand you an activist. And you're a journalist. So what you can do is do journalism for social change, because activism is for social change, of course. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm going to do journalism for social change, because at the same time, that is like championing for good in the society. And that is how it has been until today. We are still fighting the fight. We are still fighting for social change. We are still fighting for justice. We are still fighting for those who died last year, unfortunately. We are still fighting for 1 year down the line. We are still having the same conversation of those who were murdered on June 20th. That's when Rex Masai died. Yeah. Until today, we are still fighting for the same things. So yes, if I stopped at a journalism angle, then until today, some of the things that we are talking currently, we wouldn't be talking about them. Yeah. So yes, we have to use our voice at some time. And I usually say that the biggest portion of help is meant for those who maintain neutrality in matters that require dire attention, like this one.
Yeah. So. Wow. What you're saying is very profound, because I think that the difference between previous movement and this one is that these were ordinary people, celebrities, artists. I remember, even Kabiwa Jesus was in the street. We don't imagine Kabiwa Jesus to be an activist. So Shakira, 1 year on, do you think that the political class understands what's going on? Do you think that, waingia vizuri, naelewa why people are protesting or why people are on the streets?
I feel like they do, yes. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting up such a fight. Yeah. I feel like they have presented themselves as people who have a lot to lose. Because when the wheels are balanced properly, they won't have the level of power that they have right now. They won't have access to all this money and that they can misuse the way they want. Yeah. So they know why a lot of young people especially are dissatisfied, and they have shown us that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that the status quo remains as it is. So they are very much aware of why we are not happy, and they know. Yeah.
Demba, recently I did an article when the MP for Kapsaret, Oscar Sudi, did this empowerment thing that, he gave a lot of stuff, allegedly gave a lot of stuff. And, he recently said certain things that I don't want to repeat so that I don't amplify them, Do you think that the political class understands, based on how they're still operating as if it's business as usual?
Contrary to Anifa, I think these people don't understand what is going on. Contrary to Shakira.
I keep telling him every time, my name is not Anifa.
It's like many men. Allow me to support him.
It's okay. It's the scarf. It confuses people.
Contrary to what Shakira is saying, according to my own personal analysis, these people don't understand what is going on. And they deem us immature and unready. And when we present our voices, they see us as disrespectful young people. We are disrespecting the older generation. Because honestly speaking, the bigger percentage of people in politics are the older generation, who are raised with knowing that, we should be respecting these people, we should not go against these people. And now when younger people who are educated elite come together to challenge the status quo, they feel that these people are being disrespectful, these people don't know what they're talking about, these people are immature, these people are unready, and these people actually don't know what they're fighting for. But on the contrary, we know what we are fighting for. We are fighting for our future. Because the current generation that is in the politics, let me call the older generation, they fought for the current future. What they are living right now is their future. They don't have any other future, to be honest. What they are living today is their future. They fought for that in the second liberation, in the first liberation. That is what they fought for. Us, we are fighting for the future, you see? Because 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it's our children who will be in the same situation, right? We are in right now if we don't fight for that. And when we try to fight for this, now they see these people are just here to challenge the status quo. These people are just here to try to find a way of making sure that the corruption that we have been earning a living from is not going to be there anymore. So according to Mimi, they don't. And that's why they come with these different ways of persuading these people. For them, they have this narrative that tokens, giveaways, and things like that is able to silence these people. So when you see somebody like that MP, Oscar Sudi, giving these people to the citizens, there's a time he was giving things like cooking oil and things like that. They know that these things are going to silence these people. And they've also learned how to control poverty, because they know that once you control poverty, you control the people. That's why unapata, they are going to pay these people tokens just to be quiet. Once you give somebody 200 shillings and he has not been able to get that 200 shillings for the whole week, that person is going to keep quiet. And that is the art that they have mastered. And that is what they are trying to do right now. And they find it difficult that they cannot do that with this younger generation. This is a generation that knows that to compare 200 shillings for today, you will disappear for 5 years, and that is not going to work. So for me, these people don't understand what is going on, and it's just about time that we find a solution to this problem. They have to understand or they have to leave.
Wow, that's quite profound what you've said, and it's led me to a question which I had not planned to ask, but I'm going to ask. I'm going to start with you, Shakira. What is the sort of a country you're fighting for? What is that Kenya tuitakayo, or the Kenyan, the vision we have for this country, that when you go to the street, you hope that your child can live in that country?
For me, I just want a Kenya that works for everyone, and not a select few, which, as we see it right now, is the political class. I want any person who is born in this country, from prior to when they are born, whatever health care, maternal health care that their mother receives is not something they have to labor for, something they have to, I don't know, ask their community to contribute towards, or in case of an emergency, they have to travel some distant place so that they can, you know, receive proper health care. Once this child is born, the kind of environment that they grow into, proper sanitation. Once they are ready to go to school, they have proper education, and it's not an education where somebody has to sacrifice, somebody has to toil and suffer so that they can take this child to school. And then once they have matured and they have finished their education, they are ready to be part of the workforce of this country. They don't have to think that I can't survive in this country, I have to look for another country, go abroad so that I can, you know, earn a living. They can earn a living in this country. Somebody can grow and nurture themselves and their talent within this country without having to know specific people, without having to have like a community chama fundraising so that they can access some of these things, and to see leadership going into leadership to actually serve people and not for, you know, their own personal benefit. We've seen our president talking about austerity measures, yet year in, year out, we have budget allocated towards State House for refurbishing, for, I don't know, furniture and things. You wonder, what type of furniture is this that needs to be replaced every year? Yet we do not have enough money to employ teachers. We don't have enough money to employ intern doctors. We have doctors that have been out of school 2-3 years. There are not enough doctors in hospitals as it is, but we have unemployed interns outside because there's not enough money to employ them. You know, things like that. There's no balance in how our resources are, you know, allocated and distributed. We can see an individual who can afford a 500 million car, a 300,000 watch, a suit, I don't know, that is specifically manicured for them. And they haven't invented anything. The only thing that they've done is that they are a politician. And the only reason they can afford this thing is because they are at a position where they can steal from other people. I just want a Kenya that works for everyone. Nobody, as in, if you're going to be rich, let it be some level of wealth that is explainable. Not you don't own any industries, you haven't invented anything, yet you have amassed all this wealth that nobody can explain, while at the same time, the people who you are purportedly supposed to be serving are suffering. They don't have basic sanitation, basic infrastructure. We've seen how the streets in our country are when it rains. Literally, we say that the drainage system of our country is the evaporation. If the sun doesn't come out, we are going to be swimming and rowing boats so that we can, you know, move from place to place. So just basic things like that.
Yeah, I come from a place called Kano Plains, and Kano Plains is known mostly for floods. And this lady, even Safaricom used her to do their advert. Serikali's idea. So I'm glad that, you know, now Nairobi is like Kano, and you get to understand the pain of our people. It's very, very interesting, you know. Ademba, what is your vision for Kenya that works for you, that you're fighting for?
I don't want to talk about Kenya that works for me. I want to talk about Kenya that works for everyone.
Okay.
I want to talk about a Kenya that works for your child, a Kenya that's going to work for somebody in Turkana, Kenya that's going to work for somebody in Western, Nyanza, Central, Rift Valley, and everywhere. And this Kenya is going, this is the Kenya that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
A Kenya where you are able to benefit after you spend millions in your education. Yeah. You are not employed after spending thousands and thousands of money in your education. I want a Kenya where politicians are accountable for what they are doing. You see, you give billions of money to the State House for innovation. Explain us why you need it. I also want a country where when we, the citizens, demand answers for things like SHA, you give us that one. Because you're going to bring us a lot of things that are necessary. Let me call them nonsensical things at right now. You find out, just the other day, there's this politician who was talking and saying on national television that you people tried to reject Finance Bill 2024, but we passed it either way. Yeah. That means that the government that we have right now is not listening to its citizens, the people who elected it. And that's why I say we want a government that is going to listen to the actual citizens who elect them to these positions. I want a Kenya where when we are going to elect leaders, we elect issue-based leaders. You see, we don't elect leaders who are going to bribe us to be in those positions. Yeah. We want a country where our younger generation, because the biggest percentage of youth right now are unemployed. We want a country where you don't have to take us to Qatar, kwenda kuokota mayaya, whatever, and telling us that now you are employed. We've created Kazi Maju for you. We have to take you to Maju. At the same time, you've spent millions of money in your education. Unaambiwa Kazi ko Maju. Why can't we create those jobs in Kenya? We don't want us to go abroad. We want to create a better Kenya for us. And we want a Kenya where when our children comes of age, they don't go to the same problems. Problems of leadership, problems of healthcare, problems of education, problems of governance and things like that. So we want a better Kenya. And when we say a better Kenya, we talk about Kenyans in general, everybody else. We are not talking about Kikuyus, Luos, Kalenjins, or Luyas. We are talking as Kenyans, not as tribes.
Not as tribes. Kenyans, not as tribes. You know, it's very profound what you said, Ademba. And Shakira, I like this question will definitely, capture what you've been doing. You know, the political class that is currently ruling us, what they understand is what we call the colonial logic of using fear to control the natives. So you and I, all of us are natives here because, we are not aristocrats, we are black people, But this fear is not working because Shakira, who is still, she's a lady, she's a Muslim, ticks all the boxes of people we don't imagine we'd ever meet on the streets. Yeah. Why are you not afraid? And why are the batons and the horses and the pink water, the famous, gender reveal? Why are you not afraid of these things?
I'm actually afraid.
Okay.
But I do it afraid.
Okay.
I feel like the kind of country that we'd like to see, what Ademba has described, what I've described, cannot be achieved when we all sit back and do nothing. So this is actually a conversation I've even had with my family. Every time I step out of the door in the morning, there's always a high possibility that I'm not coming back. And I'm at peace with that because I believe I have this conviction within me that I can do whatever it takes to achieve the country that we need to see, especially for, like Ademba said, the current political class, they don't necessarily have a future. And what the future that we are talking about is for us, is for our young children who are growing up. So I do it afraid.
You do it afraid, and that's deeply profound because I think we don't imagine activists to be afraid when you grabbed, this corpse mask.
Did you see how fast I ran out of that?
You ran. I did see.
Because, actually, I need to clarify. A lot of people think I went into that situation blindly, that I was careless. I wasn't. I had seen that police officer trying to run after a fellow protester, somebody we had been with on the street, and he wanted to try and catch him and arrest him. And I saw all the 5 policemen that were around that area, they all had the tear gas launchers. And out of the 5 officers, only one of them was masked. And that's why I asked, why are you wearing your mask? You need to remove the mask. And you could even hear the people around were saying, "Toa a mask, toa a mask." So when I reached out to that policeman to remove the mask, I had already seen he has his tear gas launcher and it is here. The person behind me had a baton and the person behind that police officer had a tear gas. And that is who I was watching. And the reason why I ran is because I saw him aiming the tear gas canister at me. I moved and it hit the policeman that was behind me. Wow. And I saw him going for the second one and I was like, we cannot stay here. And that's why I ran. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people just think I was doing it for show or anything. I did not even realize the cameras were there until now we had left the situation and I'm being told, oh, we've seen your video. I'm like, okay, that was not my intention. My intention was that there is a court order. If policemen are coming to overlook protests, they need to be identifiable. Why is this specific one who is masked is the one who has the guts to run after a protester to take them? I mean, if somebody were to happen to that guy, we can't be able to pinpoint and say it is this police officer who did it. We've seen what happened to the guys who shot Boniface. They were able to be identified because from the beginning, they had been on the streets without masks. And this level of impunity the police operate with, they usually have this thing of, if I'm masked, nobody can see me, nobody can identify me, I can do whatever I want. And that's why it was important for me to, expose this policeman for who he was. Yeah. But all that time, my heart was here.
And I'm glad that you've given us the context. But also let me tell you this, Shakira, that it's easy to criticize when you're not in the arena, when you're not the one receiving the blows, the punches. It's easy to say, oh, commercial activists looking for sellable, reels and whatever, But we love you and we love what you're doing, and the whole country, is applauding you. And so forget about the few naysayers, who I can even tell you they are afraid and they're not able to confront cockroaches in their own houses. When they see cockroaches, they climb onto a stand in Denver. Why do you think young people are not afraid? And this tool that has always used, the colonial government, which really there's still a very neo-colonial thing going on here. They think that, they say that if your tool is a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail. But why is this not working, and why are young people not quite afraid, even though they've felled over 60 of us?
Moments after Shakira unmasked that police officer to Litoroka to kind of certain restaurant, then by bad luck, nikijifanya mjasiri, I went out. My friend nilikula manyaunyo. I was clobbered by those goons. So yes, we are afraid. Everybody is afraid at what they do, especially the journalist. And let me use some example. If the Mama were afraid, we couldn't have the country that we have right now. And I have to say this, somebody told me, and so I have to repeat it. We are the Mamau of the recent times. It's only that we are not fighting in the forest. We are fighting through internet, and we are fighting in Nairobi CBD, Mombasa CBD, and everywhere else. So what's happening is, we are afraid, and we know that maybe the next few hours you might be gone. So ukitoka kwa nyumba, you have to send an SOS messages that I'm going somewhere. And if I don't respond to you after a few hours, or if you don't see me after a few hours, then you just know that something bad has happened to me. I remember the day that I was going for interview at K24. I went for the interview. I was at Lin Ngugi, then I went to K24 for that interview. Then apparently the interview was happening somewhere outside the studio, and police officers came during this interview. And we were able to notice them before they reached where we are. And we recorded them coming, and we uploaded the same footages. So if I say that I'm not afraid, then I would have stayed there to be arrested by those police officers. And if I said that I'm not afraid, I wouldn't be looking at my shoulder every time I walk. I wouldn't be taking all these precautions coming here. And the only thing that we are now trying to use this fear, let me say, positively. Because if we don't use the fear that we have, yes, we say the fear is gone. We say the fear is gone. But every day we see people dying. The other day, Kariuki was shot. there's a guy who was shot in Mwiki just the other day, and we are still mourning the death of Albert Ojwang. So there's no way that we can say that we are not fearing for our lives. We fear for our life, but we are fighting for the cause. We believe in the cause that yes, after a few years of time, we will have gotten the liberation that we wanted. We'll have the third liberation. Let us call it the third liberation. And if we don't fight for this, then we will be lamenting about the same problems that we are seeing right now. We'll still be fighting for poor governance. We'll still be fighting for corruption. We'll still be fighting for all this misjustice, for all these extrajudicial killings. So yes, our lines are on the line, but we have to fight regardless. Because if we don't fight, who is going to fight for us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that so much, Demba. And the interesting thing you've said is that there's fear, but the greatest fear for me, as what I'm picking from what you're saying, is the fear of the status quo. I mean, really, there's no way we can be afraid more than being afraid to live in a country that the systems are completely broken. Yesterday, I passed along that road of Kasarani, Mwiki Road. It looks like, I mean, there were tires on the road and stuff like that. And to imagine that a young man was killed for protesting the death of another girl is extremely outrageous, you know. And I think as we're still continuing to have this conversation, you know, part of our work as journalists is also to humanize people like you. You're a journalist, you're a fitness enthusiast, you know. So you're telling me something about the difference between different types of, you know, workout. You said this. I mean, just give us like a minute or so, you know, of that.
What I do that seems to fascinate a lot of people when I post about it is Olympic weightlifting.
Olympic weightlifting.
Yes. Now, in Olympic weightlifting, we have two specific movements. One is called snatch. The other one is called clean and jerk. The essence of both is to bring the bar from the floor to over your head. Two different techniques. And now the heavier you go, you know, like the stronger you are, the more efficient you are in your lift. What I train with my clients now, I do CrossFit. CrossFit is also another style of workout. It's more functional movements, enhanced, combined with like gymnastics and things like that. We also have like functional movement for strength training. And so what I do essentially is a mix of both. So I call it cross training. Okay. Yeah. There's also what a lot of people think of when they think about gym rats is bodybuilding. And that is what a lot of men like, where you focus on defining your muscles and all that. We also have powerlifting. Powerlifting is 3 moves. That's the deadlift, the squat, and the bench press. Yeah. So I am skilled and knowledgeable in all of that. What I practice currently is weightlifting. And now I'm doing a Bachelor of Science in Sports and Exercise Science, because as I continue advancing in age, I want to go more into research on how fitness and wellness can be used to enhance our overall health. Because when you look at the health industry, it's so heavily focused on treating rather than prevention. I want to go into more of prevention and maintenance of health rather than treating once diseases and pathologies happen.
Yeah. Do you take government clients? Because I think there's a presidential advisor who might need your services. Demba, what do you do apart from that journalism? Just tell us, you know, the areas of interest and sort of the work that you do.
Okay, I personally do a lot of things, by the way. Yeah. So I have this event thing that I just started as a joke. Okay. I did my first edition. Currently, I'm doing my second edition. I did my second edition, so I'm headed to third edition. It's called Vibes and Threads. So Vibes and Threads is a platform that is bringing together different people in the fashion industry. I know you guys are familiar with the Black Ends and Wine. So mine is not in that direction, but it's actually people buy tickets to the event. And it's mostly people in the fashion and who just want to have a good time. People who want to connect. Okay, we bring in vendors, we bring in designers, we bring in everybody else in the fashion industry. Yeah. We bring, there's music, there's live mixing, there's everything. But we do it on a regular basis. So after every month we do it. I did my first edition that I did at Silver Springs Hotel, which was a very good place. It's a 4-star hotel. Then the other one I just did recently, just happened on 14th this month. It happened at Vibanda Village. And it's actually a good event because a lot of people get to buy tickets. For this one, over 200 people bought tickets. And that tells you that I'm doing the good thing, because also we, on the other side, I also say that we can use fashion for social change. Anything that I do, I try to bring social change inside there. So we try to use fashion also as a social change. But for Vibes on Thread, nothing political. It's just because that, again, is business. A lot of people come together, vendors pay to be there. These people buy tickets to have the good time they're having there. So yeah, that's one of the things that I do. And also, I am a filmmaker, and I'm currently venturing into creating documentaries.
Okay.
On 25th of June, I'll be creating I'll be documenting whatever is happening. And aside from that, I've also gotten a gig somewhere to be a host of a certain show.
Okay.
That is to start come next month. First of next month. So yeah, I say I do a lot of things. And before that, I used to do businesses, which I will not go into. But I'm just a jack of all trade. That's why, you know, I used to be here also.
Yeah.
I do a lot of things.
I like that. And I think often we don't imagine that revolutions can be achieved when people are drinking wine and dancing and making love. We only think that it's supposed to be for serious, boring people, you know. And I think that's also what's confusing this government, that you can be as beautiful as Shakira, but you can still, you know, cause problems, you know. You can be still as talented as Ademba, but you can still cause problems, you know. But
you know, actually, sorry to cut you off.
Fine.
I feel like what made June 25th happen last year at such a massive scale is because people were able to make engagements with the finance bill fund.
Okay.
If you look at most of the clips that we have from the streets, away from the front line at the parliament, most of the people who are on the streets it was more like a carnival, because I found time, I came late to the specific protest on 25th, and I had to, you know, walk through the streets. I started at Jamia Mosque and I walked through Moi Avenue. I came back to Kenyatta Avenue, City Hallway, before I came to Parliament. And just interacting with people, it was just this big community of love and fun. People were dancing, singing, throwing balloons at one point. There was a concert at one point. Another area, people were competing how to do push-ups and all that. So, you know, this staying alive, staying hopeful, having fun, even in such moments of seriousness, is part of resilience. And this resilience is part of, you know, resistance. Not all resistance has to be in the form of we are at the front line physically engaging with police or anything of that sort. We had people back at home who are tweeting. We had people in diaspora who are sending in cash and tweeting and, you know, sharing events and all that. So the fact that we were able, there was this camaraderie that was happening last year, June, and that for me was what made that protest different from other protests. Because a lot of other protests, they usually feel like, if I'm not part of this specific group, I can't participate. But last year, if you are Kenyan, you had to participate, whether you are at home in Kenya or you are outside.
Yeah, I like that. In fact, you have something you have already joined?
You know, to pick from where Anif has left, we have also give... to pick from where Shakira has left...
Adema, you cannot cheat.
I don't know why I keep confusing the two. I think
don't ever try. If you ever try.
Okay, so to pick from wherever Shakira has left, I think we also have to give credit to the artistry that took place in last year's protest. And you know why I told you that these people don't understand whatever is going on? The older generation expect people, when it's a revolution, Shakira is doing a skincare routine. How do you expect her, ajipake matope kwa uso, to go hide somewhere, like the guerrilla warfare that happened, so that you know that he's fighting for a better cause. No,
Yeah.
we are just going to be there dressed in our sneakers and everything, but we are still protesting.
Yeah.
Eating
We are-
KFC and coming in Uber.
Yeah, eating KFC and our iPhones. Because we call it, there's also digital activism,
Yeah.
you see. So we are not going to do the same thing that the older generation did, honestly. We are not living in the 90s, we are not
Yeah.
living in the 60s. So it's up to you to be at the level, or we are, for you to understand whatever is going on. This is the older generation right now, sometimes they even sit down and wonder what is happening. You know, these are the people who have been in government, have been using the older system all over and all over. Year come, year go. That's why when you talk about VPN, the current minister for, you know,
Yeah.
IT
Yeah.
cannot even relate what VPN is, you see. So this is a generation that if we are going to protest, we don't have to be armed with guns, with pangas, with rungus. No, we can do it. That's why they are afraid of the internet. That's why they're trying to regulate X, let me call internet in general. Because what we are able to do right now is not what was happening, and they are not relating with that. So if we are going to do all these things and still deem it nonsensical, that they don't see the sense in it, then that's why I'm telling you, these people don't understand whatever is going on. If there was just a possibility of sending all of them home, we reshuffle and we clean the house, that would be the best solution.
Yeah, you know, you guys, I mean, I fully understand these people because they grew up in an era where it was the Nyayo torture chambers that was, you know, working. It was that there was this, you know, it's called the special branch that would come and buy all the newspapers when there was a headline. You know, it was possible for them to have their own publishing firm where they could, you know, do their publishing. But the landscape has changed. That you, Ademba, with your phone and access to the internet, you can, you know, call out the president.
Yeah.
A kid somewhere in Mandera with the phone can actually, you know, get into AI and create images that can upset these big people in big offices with very fragile egos, you know. And I think that's what they don't understand, you know. But somebody might say that all of you have something in it for you. Like, for example, we've seen a number of Gen Zs who came last year. Others were called the present-day tomboyas, but they're immediately co-opted by the status quo, you know. How do we know that what you guys are doing is genuine?
Okay, for me,
Yeah.
I usually tell these people that I do this thing because I believe in what I do.
Yeah.
There's no point in time that you ever seen me go tell these people that now I want to be your leader. Because I've been in the front line, now I'm the leader of these Gen Zs.
Yeah.
You see, everywhere I go as a Demba Alliance. I'm going to speak as a student journalist who is witnessing what is going on.
Yeah.
And for these people who presented themselves as leaders and then came later and they were tarnished or they were approached by this regime, the regime that we want to go out, and the ones you say used to call themselves the present Tomboya.
Yeah.
I think what happened is these people came to the movement because let's call it the movement with ulterior motive. They wanted something out of it at the end of the day. They wanted actually monetary gain out of it at the end of the day. But if you're coming to the movement, or if you want to fight for social change or social justice or whatever you want to call it, digital activism, then just make sure that it's something that is within you, that is coming deep within you. That's why don't come and make it your profession. Come and make it a movement you want to see change. The moment you will say that right now I'm an activist full-time, then you expect to get something out of it. And once you're approached by this status quo, this regime, you are going to do that. But for somebody like me, I have my other sources of income. I do what I do. That's why I go to school to study. That's why at the end of the day, I will still apply for jobs, but not from the government. So I'm talking as a Dempa. I don't want to be put outside there that, oh, these are activists, they're being paid. That's why I even tell people, you know, people usually have this misconception that, for example, I did the documentary, BBC. That's how people came to know me. Actually, to date, people still believe that I was paid to do that thing, you see? And if I was paid, say if I was paid to do that documentary, then I would have done what the BBC wanted me to do. I would have said what they wanted me to do. I would have read from their script. But you see, I narrated what happened. And that said that I do things because I want them to be outside there, not because I want to gain some monetary value, some power, or anything from that. And if that was not the case, then I would be nikikuja hapa nasema, majama munilipie fare or anything, but you see, you find your own way of financing your things. And if you're going to ask for finance online, then you have to give a valid reason why you answer for this. Usisema ati munilipie nyumba au munifanya nini. No. If it's at that point, Kenyans will, if they like, will they just do it. So for me, it's something that I do from my heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shakira?
I'll say this. Only time vindicates. The example of the few that we don't want to mention their names, we like over time we have seen who they truly are. And I feel like for myself, I've already expressed enough times that the reason why I'm doing this is towards a better Kenya. And if that statement is not enough for people to agree that, yes, this is somebody we can trust, this is somebody that we can work together with, then continue what you're doing in whatever mission that you have. I'll continue doing what I'm doing. And then at the end of the day, only time is going to, you know, prove who I stand for and what I stand for as a person. I'll give you an incidence of this time the king and queen of Netherlands came to this country. Somebody posted online that Ruto had organized for young people to go and have a meeting with the king. And Shakira was the leader of this group of young people. And they went to State House and they had tea and they ate and they were laughing and they were paid a big amount of money and they went home. It even reached a point where my own number, personal line, was put online. And people wakaambiwa wanisalimie. Na nilisalimiwa kweli kweli, it was not even funny. Like, it was terrible. And this is because people decided to believe somebody. But, you know, actually during that week, I had this burden within me. It's true, I had gone to see the king and queen of Netherlands, but it wasn't organized by Ruto. And I did not go to State House. I went to the embassy, to the residence of the ambassador of Netherlands. And I was not going as a representative of anyone. I was invited as Shakira to give my own personal opinion of what the current state of the nation is. Nobody paid me anything. I used my own money to get there, and I used my own money to take me back home. And it was actually during Ramadan. I did not eat anything. And I was very categorical in that meeting. You remember there was a petition going around about them not coming to this country. That is exactly what I presented to them. And I started, why was it so important for you people to travel here against the wishes of a lot of Kenyans expressed in this petition? So mine was to emphasize and to repeat the points in the petition, because I felt like all the other young people that were invited, majority of them organized by the government, were just going to kiss us. And I'm not one to kiss us. I was going to tell point blank. So I meet certain people and they keep doubting me because of this one occurrence. But I asked them, you wrote the petition. Who were you addressing it to? Wasn't it to the king and queen? Didn't I deliver the same message to the king and queen? So what is so hypocritical about me talking to them one-on-one and you talking to them through the internet? But you know, I said what? I tried to explain to people. People did not understand. I just let it settle. But look, barely 3-4 months later, people are out here celebrating me. Oh, our hero, enforcer of court orders. Like, surely. I mean, we can't be the same gullible people who, you know, this swinging back and forth because of a certain wave is what has led us to trust individuals like Ruto and Gachagua and Ishungwa into leadership. Ideally, if you look at the kind of politicians we have as leaders, these are not even people, if I had a company, I would employ.
Yeah.
So as for me, it is
Unless your company was in the business of abduction.
a business of abductions, killing people and stealing from people. So for me, I know within myself what I already stand for, and it is not my responsibility to try and convince somebody of my conviction. You watch what I do, and if my actions do not convince you that I'm genuine, just figure out another path that you can trade on.
But you know, just so that perhaps this might, to give a bit of a historical context, this is not the first time that we are requiring active citizens to prove their loyalty more than we require the oppressor to prove their love for us. It's like we give our loyalty very easily to the people who abuse us. But for the ones who fight for us, we want them to prove. Can you turn water into wine? Can you do this? Because it's not just enough that Ademba, you say you love the country, or Shakira, you say you want a country that works for all. We also want you to continuously also still defend yourself amidst doing all this other work. But they don't understand that also that takes energy and bandwidth and emotions. And you know, you guys are really stretched. And I can imagine I've not been actively involved in this work, but for me, it's really overwhelming when we experience these things, you know. But also I remember there's a Bible, Acts of the Apostles, there's a time that Peter went, Paul went to one of those places to do his mission. And they said, oh, you are like God. In fact, let's put for you a statue here, you are God. 2 chapters down the line, they wanted to murder him. 2 chapters down the line, they wanted to murder him, you know. So that's the nature of human beings. They are very fickle but that should not worry you guys, you know. The question now I have as we sort of like, you know, move towards the tail end of this conversation is that now we have done the protest, active citizens have been unleashed everywhere else, you know. But there seems to be this old clouds gathering again of mobilizing politics around the ethnicity as the main identity. We have seen DCP Usuguze Murima. We have seen now their cousins. I don't know who else is going to be mobilized and be told brothers and sisters, you know. And we're also seeing a lot of vitriol, ethnic vitriol coming from, you know, the ODM part of the movement. Are they going to succeed? And what do we do so that they don't succeed?
Go ahead, Adam.
Let me
start,
come 2027, the youths are going to make 75% of the voters, 75%. So that means that if there's a real mobilization of youth to vote in an issue-based voting, that you vote agendas, manifestos, you vote track record, you vote leaders, not politicians, then we can avoid the tribal thing. I don't know if you're getting me correctly.
I get you.
So, of course, we have these factions that are coming in. We have the Wamunyoro, we have the current government, and a lot more will come, of course. And even some Gen Zs will try to form their own. Because over time has proven that the tribal politics has worked for Kenya. And over you see that at the end of the day, people are going back to the tribal settings when it comes to voting. And that is what we are trying to demystify right now. We are trying to at least make sure that when we are going to vote, because there are a lot of people that we have been trying to convince, and they are, honestly speaking, there are people that we cannot convince as Kenyans. There are people who are grown to know that let me not call it party, but the loyalty politics, where you pay your loyalty to Raila. So when Raila says Sita from MCA going upward, it's Orange or it's ODM, you vote that way. But you see, this generation, because we are standing for this generation and we are trying to convince other generations, our parents. That's why we are saying that we are going to be vigilant with our parents when it comes to voting. If you're not going to vote, if you're going to vote because somebody gave you 200 shillings, make sure we are going to even hide your voter's card, honestly speaking. So what we are trying to do right now is civic education across the country, actually. So if we are in a position to travel across the country, just trying to educate these people that you don't have to be bribed, you don't have to vote because this guy, you are a lawyer, so you don't have to vote a Luo. Because you are a lawyer, you have to vote a lawyer, not a Kikuyu. No, that is not the way to go. And at the end of the day, you see the established politicians, let me call them established politicians, Akina Rigiji and the like, they always go back to that. And they always try to say that what was Central, what was Murima, we stand with this person. And if it's not this person, then we are not voting or something like that. But we want a country where somebody, Mjaluo, let me call Luo, can go and vie in Turkana and be voted in. That's why you see, just the other day, there's a group of people who have been going around the Gen Zs trying to convince everybody across the country that we have to vote for leadership, not politics. And when we are talking politics, that's where the whole issue of tribalism comes in. The whole issue of party loyalty comes in. The whole issue of older generation politics come in, because these people don't even believe that the younger generation can be leaders.
Yeah.
These people don't even believe that because I'm only 25 years of age, I can be a MP somewhere. And we have been trying to convince these people. So you find, let me say right now, I go and vie for, because I'm born and raised in Kibra, vie for MCA seat or MP seat in Kibra. The first thing that I will be asked, are you supporting Raila? Yeah. And it's really hard to get away from that. And the only way we can try to do that is, because we've analyzed that the 75% of the voters are going to be the younger generation. And this younger generation will let them, and we are in a position to talk to them. And just online, going one-to-one, one-on-one. And so what we can do right now is just make sure there is as much as possible civic education to these people. We try to convince everybody that, please vote people, because they have manifesto, they have agenda, they have track record, they have little to no corruption on their names. Like, they are leaders, they are not politicians. And that's why you see when these politicians come in, they are trying to bring in the aspect of, kwa hii area yetu tuko na Gen Zs, tuko na kina nani. And we have been really trying to do away with that through civic education.
Yeah. All right. So then, and Shakira?
Yeah, just to emphasize what Ademba has said, I really do hope, and I'm actually optimistic that come the next general elections, Kenyans are going to change the way they vote.
Yeah.
Now we've already predicted that 75% of the people going into the coming elections are going to be young people.
Yeah.
So what we need to change is, we need young people not to be apathetic towards the electoral process. We don't want, like we saw in the last general election, 40% of the people who did not vote were youth. Mm-hmm. And had these young people come out and voted, they would have actually significantly influenced how the electoral results came out. So I'm part of a group of young people. We've taken this burden of moving around the country, using our platforms, whether it's on social media, whether it is in our small communities, to continue engaging people, to see how important it is for them to participate actively within the political space. If these 75% of young Kenyans come out and vote in 2027, or sooner if the next election is going to be sooner, and they vote not based on this party or this tribe, because we've already established that we are tribeless. We've already established that we are partyless. Now we've seen that we can't continue being leaderless. So we need to select individuals who are going to be actual leaders and not politicians. People who have proven through whatever spaces they've been in that they are concerned about being of service to the people, and that they are not out there to enrich themselves. And something that we keep repeating when we go out there is fagia wote. Because a majority of the current political class, they are people who have been in politics for more than one electoral period. And they've already shown us, they've already proven that they cannot be trusted to serve the people. They cannot be trusted to not steal. They cannot be trusted to actually do what is within their mandate in whatever positions that they hold. So craziness is repeating the same thing and expecting different results. We are telling Kenyans, give a chance to new people. It is better you give a new person this opportunity and they disappoint you than electing the same old fool and then complain that they disappointed you. And yet they've already shown you that they are not capable of, serving. So for me, I will continue with that message of fagia wote. I'll continue with that message of we cannot be apolitical. Young people, the middle class especially, we cannot sit back and watch things unfold. We have to take charge of making decisions in this country, and that begins at the ballot. We need to make sure we have our identity cards. Once the voter registration starts, we need to make sure that we are taking our voting cards. And at the area where we live, a lot of mistakes that Kenyans do is they take mashinani. They travel to go vote and then come back, live in a different area and complain, yet they went to vote for somewhere they do not live. So people need to vote in the area where they actually experience their day-to-day, and now they need to use their brains when they are going towards elections.
Wow. Hey, I'm going to ask you guys sort of a controversial question. What you're proposing is literally an overhaul of the political system as we know it. Because Kenya is sort of like a party democracy. Not really a democracy, but it's a party autocracy, Then those party sponsors individuals to whatever house of representation, whether it's the county assembly, national assembly, or the Senate. And then eventually, that's how they represent the voices of the people. So now you guys are telling me that we fagia water and we move forward. So just hold your thoughts there. But somebody might accuse you of being naive. That's not how the political system works. That the best expenditure of your energy would actually to infiltrate parties and take over, because that's how the political system works. Ademba.
At the end of the day, we need parties. That's a fact. And if we need parties, that means that there have been parties. And those parties were created. We can as well create another one to start with. Because for you to be elected, first of all, it's either you're an independent candidate or you're in a party. And time has proven that party gets people to those seats. Party makes these people be elected. The only problem we have with this party that are currently existing is the leaders who are in those parties. There are Gen Zs who defected to those parties.
Okay.
There are Gen Zs who defected to those parties, and they were put under youth wing, they were put under these wings and different wings. I don't know which wings they were. But you see that in those, whatever position they were put in, their voices are not, they were just there as puppets to be seen that now we have these Gen Zs. What is happening? Yes, we are going to be vying for these seats. We are going to be vying for MCA, for MP, for senator, for members of whatever seats are there, governors, senators, and even the president, if possible. What is happening? There will come a time, of course, the Gen Z will come up with their party. I don't want to say, because I'm not vying for any political seat, but at the end of the day, if you are a Gen Z and you are going to vie with, let me say, okay, let us use DCP, let us use ODM, let us use the ones that they Inject is not a party actually.
Okay.
Inject is not a registered party.
Okay.
And we have to be honest, the guy has been going outside there saying it's a party, but it's not registered. If you search registered parties, it's not listed there. So let us use the ones that are registered. Let's say we are going to use the ODM, we are going to use these other parties. If we vote for you and you are with ODM, just make sure that you go to that position again and represent the same thing that you are standing for. Not that now you are in ODM, you are going to go with the old principle that if Raila says this, you're going to do this. No. There are politicians who are in this position but are still holding their values. You see? So I myself, let us use the example of this senator from Kisii, Onyonga. What is his name?
Onyonka.
Onyonka.
Yes.
He has been in the party and has been elected over time. Yeah. And time has proven that he has been working despite being in that party. Let us use Okia Omtata. He has been elected with parties, and time has proven that despite him being in the party is not controlled, we can still work when we're in these parties. But for any Gen Z, for any young leader who is coming to vie for this position, first bet, are you going to go with these parties? And if you go with these parties, are you going to be like other puppets in these parties? Are you going to be just like the older politicians? Because they can use their influence, because they own the party, they can use their influence to control you. So the narrative is, when you go to these parties, when you use these parties as your election tools, maintain your values as the movement requires, maintain your values as for better governance, maintain your values as for fighting for a better Kenya. Yes.
Yeah, just a clarification that actually Inject Party is provisionally registered, just as they've not attained the full registration, which is just the process that parties take before they are given the full registration. Shakira, what do you have to say about the question I asked?
The current system as it is, it does require an overhaul. Can it happen in one election period? Highly unlikely, but it is possible. So the thing that needs to happen, I feel like, is for Kenyans first to understand the power they hold within their own citizenship. Once that is within, like a lot of Kenyans are able to understand what they are capable of doing as active citizens, then we can effect change the way we want it to be. So when we say we want a complete overhaul, we want to fagia wote. In the coming election cycle, if majority of the people who are elected from the county assemblies to the national assemblies, if majority of them are young people who have proven that they stand within the values of integrity, accountability, and justice, if majority of them go into parliament, personally, I'm not overly concerned about who is going to be president.
Yeah.
Because if we do form majority of the House, we can run an impeachment motion and whoever is president can be impeached.
Yeah.
So it is, for me, my bigger message actually is not to the current politicians, because they've already proven that they don't care. They won't listen. It is to the citizens for us to understand what is at stake and what we are capable of achieving if we actually, focus and agree to move together in one voice. And it is achievable. We saw it last year, June 25th. It is achievable. It just needs a level of organization and commitment that we are yet to achieve, but we can do that. We can work within the current political arena as it is. We have a lot of political parties. I believe we have over 290 registered political parties. The reason people feel certain areas only a specific political party can win is because the people have allowed it. So the people get to decide. I need people to understand we are the people. And all sovereign power belongs to the people.
Wow. I'm going to push back a little bit because I love you guys and I love the nation. Why do we assume that young people can make good leaders just by the virtue that they are young? Are we saying that young people cannot be corrupted? Are we saying that young people cannot be crooks? Are we saying young people cannot make bad decisions? I'm asking this because I think that we risk the idea of breaking bridges that we need to be building and building walls. So now we make it a 35 and below affair. While it could be an intergenerational affair, we can decide that by the Okiya Mtata might not be a young person, but he represents our aspirations. Maraga might not be a young person, but that man has done things for this country that if he were to be president, we'd see change. Onyonka, Senator Onyonka might not be from, the party that is of Gen Z, but we believe that he represents the ideals of young people. I'm just giving an example. How do you respond to that, Demba?
When I usually tell people that when we say Gen Z, we're not restricted to age. People assume that Gen Z are the younger people. Me, I say Gen Z is the mindset.
Okay.
Gen Z is the values that you stand for. Gen Z is who you are as a person. So if you stand for transparency, accountability, integrity, anything that aligns with what, I don't know how to call it, let's say what the movement believes in, then you are a Gen Z. So we are not going to not vote for Okiya Mtata because he's not a young person. And we are not going to vote for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old person who wants to be an MP because he's a younger person. We are going to vote for this 18-year-old person who wants to be an MP because with time it's proven that he can work. Shakira said that First of all, you have to prove your integrity, your accountability, your transparency, your capability to lead, and your competency in the position that you want us to elect you to represent. So if a 70-year-old person can prove that he can represent all these things, then yes, we are going to represent this person, to elect this person. If a 26-year-old person is going to be able to go with transparency, accountability, integrity, competency, and everything else that we deem positive when it comes to better governance or better direction in this country, we are going to elect this person. That's why I say people misunderstand the term Gen Z. Yes, people relate it with the age, but I relate it with those things: values, what you believe for, your integrity level, your competence, and everything else. So if you are going to elect you, it is not restrictive of age, because we can have a 35-year-old person who is going to do the worst job, but we elected him because he's young as a president. We can have a 17-year-old person. No, I don't know why I love use 17, because 17 is not of age. We can have a 22-year-old person as MP, but it's going to be the biggest thief ever. But we can have a 90-year-old person, 80-year-old person, 70-year-old person who can work better than these people. But time has proven that over the time they are not elected because they are not the loudest politician that we know. But if we sit down and select that these people can actually work, despite the age, we are going to elect these people. Because what is the point of having a 22-year-old MP who cannot work, and we are leaving a 70-year-old MP who can work?
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have to agree that there's an age gap, that kuna ile age ikifika, you cannot be a Gen Z. Do we say 60 or we say 50? Because there's certain ideologies that we cannot change, especially, you know who I'm talking about, Shakira.
I said if the next government, majority of the people going into the county assemblies and to the national assemblies are young people because a lot of the current politicians are of the older generation, and there's this certain fixated mindset that the older generation has that I feel like is not progressive towards the kind of change that we need as a country. Not to say that there aren't older people who actually agree with the Gen Z ideology. So like Ademba put it, Gen Z is not much as an age issue, but an ideology issue. So if majority of the people coming in the next government are young people of proven integrity, accountability, and competency, we don't want to go into continue with personality-based politics. That is what has failed us, and that is what has landed us in this mess that we are in. And that's why, personally, I'm not happy when people tell me, for example, Shakira, you should be our next women rep. What have I done to show you that I'm actually capable of handling the legally required responsibilities of a woman representative? You see, just because I'm out on the streets shouting and pulling masks off officers and telling officers off, what is it about me specifically, about what I have done outside of all this makelele that makes you feel I'm actually qualified to be a woman rep? You see, it is a lot of care. And that's why I keep going back to the power of the people.
Yeah.
We select leaders based off their personalities because that is what we want to do, and that is what we have agreed. And we can all agree that personalities have not landed us anywhere. So it is time for us to shift, to go now into like kuchambua wale viongozi ambao tunawachagua. Si kuchagua tu for the sake ya kuchagua ati yule ndo ako na kelele zaidi nini. We've seen personally, I feel like somebody like Okia, somebody like Maraga, they are best positioned in terms of qualifications to be part of the next executive. But a lot of people are like, they don't have presidential aura. I don't know, they don't have personality, they can't public speak. But where has the public speaking and the presidential aura landed us into? It is time as Kenyans we look at leadership beyond how a person physically presents themselves towards us. So I've forgotten the question.
No. You've answered it perfectly well. And I want to tell you that you can and you're capable. What you've done so far for this city is, you know, I don't know who the woman rep is. I voted for the current woman rep, and every day I think I really regret. But that's why when we see those in office and we see those who are out of office and the work that they do, we say, "Ata heri huyu," you know. And I think you should actually, I'm not saying you go for it, but I'm saying that you should actually pat yourself on the back and say that the work I do is not in vain. And actually people see it, you know. I want us to go to, we have 2 more days before June 25th, you know, memory comes. I mean, before we have like sort of that memorial, you know, civic duty, which I don't want to call it protest, you know. But I think that part of the work we need to do as young people of this country is to really understand how systems work. I've been part of a presidential campaign elections. I've been part of a governor election campaign, beginning with setting structures from the ward level, not even ward level, from, if you're maybe saying you're going to vie for an MP, you're going to have to set committees from the voting station level all the way to the sub-county level, you know. And then this people need to be facilitated. You need to know who are the teachers, who are the most influential people there, when are the days for baraza, what is the state of these roads across this entire constituency, you know. And you also have to know how are elections stolen in this country so that you prevent it from being stolen, you know. You know. So I think as we do civic education, I think also we need to bring a bit more political education into the conversation so that if in case any of us here decides to vie, they're equipped well enough to win an election. Because also, I sometimes feel frustrated because active citizens have this ideology, you know, what I call a utopic world, like this world where things are perfect. Yet the world is full of the fake engineers, wakarabati ambao wanafanya vituko kwa serikali. This country is full, I mean, the political real world is full of pigs who want to wrestle you in the mud so that you look the same. And I think sometimes we're not quite prepared for that. What are we hoping for on June 25th, 2025? Let's start with you, Ademba.
Well, you know, that question only can put you in a lot of danger. What am you hoping for June 25? But what I'm hoping for June 25 is that people are going to turn up to do their civic duty. That is calling out the bad governance, calling out the poor leaders that we have actually. I'm expecting mass turnout because a lot of mobilization has been put in place. Everybody, especially right now, everybody is doing their mobilization at the level that they are. So I'm expecting people to come out and show their frustration to the government in the most simple way possible. The protest, let me call it peaceful protest. But the government doesn't understand the meaning of peaceful protest. But because at the end of the day, we usually do peaceful protest, but they infiltrate, they bring the gun, they bring the tear gas canisters and all that. So what I'm expecting is just the normal peaceful protest, and we're expecting by the end of the day or by the end of the protest, because I don't know when the protest will end, we will have channeled our frustration to the level that even the president is in a position to say that enough is enough, let me resign. We will have channeled our frustration to the level that the government, the MCAs, the MPs, whoever is in government says that, okay, these people, we've heard you and we are going to do whatever you are calling out for. For example, we are going to stop, right now we are fighting police brutality, which has been very rampant. And that is one of the things that we are going out to be calling from the government, because the government will allow these police officers killing these people. We are calling out the president for doing whatever is happening in the country. You see, yesterday a politician coming to say that the finance bill has passed and the other one passed and nothing was done. Those are some of the things that we are trying to tell this government, that you should be listening to us, not to you. Because what if elected politicians come and say that your petitions were just thrown away, they were not heard? And this is the reason why I'm also saying that if you have not already made your mind to be in the street on June 25th, you need to be there, because it's the only time that you are given to fight for what you have. You see, we call it a peaceful protest, and you just come with your placards, come with your iPhones, come with your KFCs, come with whatever art that you have, and channel your frustration. I don't want to put people in a position that they are going to end up being killed by saying that, go attack the police officer. No, be as peaceful as possible. Let them do whatever they do, but at the end of the day, we are going to show that the protest was peaceful and that we did not attack this police officer, we did not injure anybody, we did not break into any shop. We were just there to channel our frustration. And I'm happy that this conversation has picked up across the country, Nairobi, I almost say Uganda, Nairobi, Kisumu, Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, Eldoret, everywhere.
Yeah.
People, you see people are saying that we are going to have a peaceful protest on June 25th. And the peaceful protest is just for calling out the government for extrajudicial killing, for corruption, for incompetency, for embezzlement, and everything else. And that is what I'm trying to see on June 25th. I want to see the president resigning on June 25th. Let me just be optimistic to that level. And his deputy resigning, and everybody else say that enough is enough. Find somebody else to lead this country. Yeah, it has proven that I cannot lead you and I'm incompetent. So because I'm incompetent, I'm going to resign. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Shakira, how are you laughing?
For me, June 25th, first and foremost, is a remembrance of all the young people who lost their lives June 25th last year. And I have been in close contact with a lot of the family members and the mothers of these young men and women who died. And they have a petition that they want to deliver to Parliament to invoke through the Speaker of the House a judicial inquest that is actually going to offer them some form of justice. Because 1 year down the line, majority of them were even promised directly by the president that they'll receive some form of compensation, which they haven't. They were promised that whoever was responsible for these killings was going to be taken into account and prosecuted, which hasn't happened. And we still have families that are looking for their loved ones and they have not found them. So for me, that specific day is a commemoration of June 25th last year. And in support of these families, we're going to help them go deliver their petition to the Parliament and also to the office of the president, because some of these people were promised by the president directly and nothing has happened. And now to call for swift action towards all the police officers responsible for the brutality and the killings of people, for them to be held to account and to be prosecuted, beginning with the most recent of Albert Ojwang. We saw that the deputy IG Lagat was directly involved in his arrest and eventual demise, and he's still walking around freely. The most that he has done is step aside. What exactly does step aside mean? Yeah. I believe within the Constitution of Kenya, murderers are not supposed to be walking freely outside in the country, and that is what is currently happening. And as to send a strong message towards the political class that we are still not going to sit back and watch them continue with their impunity and their corruption and their ill ways. We have done what is within our means, within the Constitution, to have their attention, and we'll continue doing that. So if whatever stars align that day and certain people decide to resign and say, okay, enough is enough, we're going to leave the country, to you do what it is that you want to do, that will be the best case scenario. But at least this time round, the police are promising us, we are going to take it with a grain of salt, that it's going to be peaceful, they are not going to attack anyone, they are not going to tear gas anyone unnecessarily, and no goons are going to be sent in. We have taken the necessary measures as citizens to, ensure some level of security and order in how we are going to march on Wednesday. but we are going to also let it happen as organically as possible, so that each and every individual who does decide to come out on the street is able to express whatever message it is they feel that they have. And mine is just to call out to all Kenyan citizens, wherever you are, whether it's in Nairobi. Nairobi already have confirmed protests. We have the go-ahead from the police. Mombasa as well, Kisumu as well. We also have Nakuru and Machakos that have officially confirmed protests. Mine is to call each and every Kenyan to take whatever space it is that they're going to occupy and deliver the message that we want justice, we want accountability, and we want a corrupt-free Kenya. And if you can't be out on the streets, please stay at home. Don't be that one person who insists your business has to be opened. Unless you are a doctor, nobody's life depends on your business being open. I mean, it's a publicly declared national holiday for all of us. So stay at home. Encourage those who are willing to come out on the streets and commemorate this day. If you're able, contribute, give people water, help print out placards and T-shirts, and let's honor our Mashujaa, because these 67 plus individuals who lost their lives last year, they are part of our Mashujaa, and when that day comes where we are celebrating the third liberation, they'll be on the list of people we have to be grateful
Absolutely.
towards.
Because language is very powerful. Albert Ojwang, it wasn't a demise, it was an execution.
Yeah.
He was executed. But also, we don't need permission from the police to protest, we just need to notify them. Because there are certain, in the Bill of Rights, there are certain guaranteed rights that nobody can take away from you, expression and picketing, and these are things that it doesn't matter who is the police head, we can just notify them, We're coming to the end of this conversation, and I think it's unfair for us to end it without asking, so if must go, must go. Who then must come in? I don't want to sound like the mainstream journalists who sometimes ask this question, but using it as sort of like the mouthpiece of the government to try to preempt this idea that there's going to be a constitutional crisis if this person leaves office. But I want it to be sort of like reimagining what is possible that our audience might not know. Let's start with you, Ademba.
A lot of people are going to position themselves as leaders come the next general election. And we are going to have a number of them. And what I can say is, I don't want to talk to any person's mind. What I want to say is, when you're going to elect a leader, because when we say must go, it's not only the president. We're saying any other politician or leader who is not accountable, or who is, let's say, the one we are not standing with right now. So a lot of leaders are going to come, and you are going to have a list of leaders. And let's say 10 people present themselves for the presidential election seat. You can't miss 2 or 3 leaders, not politicians. So if you're going to vote someone come 2027, please be as vigilant enough in checking why you're voting for this person. Don't vote for this person because somebody influenced you to vote for this person. Vote for this person because you believe this is a leader, this is somebody that can transform Kenya. This is somebody that are the most progressive mind when it comes to Kenyan moving forward. Vote for somebody who is accountable, who is transparent as enough, who has little to zero corruption, because we have these people in government. It's only that we have a few of them. And also vote people based on transparency, let me say integrity, because we can't say that we are going to recycle these leaders year in, year out. Does it mean that we have a shortage of competent leaders? No, we don't have a shortage of competent leaders. If you are going to vote someone, please do your due diligence and don't vote because of the popular or the majority movement, or people are going to, somebody say, let's vote this leader. You're voting this leader because your community is supporting this person, because your tribe is supporting this person, because the Gen Zs have said that we have to vote this person. vote this person because you have done your due diligence and seen that this is the person that is able to lead Kenya, who is able to transform Kenya from this point to this point. We don't want a repetition of what happened in the last general election happening again. Do your due diligence. If I say that we are going to vote someone to come in, then that means that I'm going to be speaking on behalf of people. No, let people do the speaking by selecting the most competent leader to vote in come 2027.
Yeah.
And we have that time. We have 2.5 years to do our due diligence of these leaders, because a lot of them will come. You can't tell me that within 2.5 years we will not be in a position to know that this is the leader that we want as Kenyans.
Yeah. I asked that specific question because there's been a word that is being thrown around is treason, 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 you know. But if you go to the Constitution, that is chapter 9, of course, of the executive, it talks about the office of president shall become vacant if the holder of the office, A, dies, B, resigns in writing addressed to the Speaker of the National Assembly, or otherwise ceases to hold office under Article 144 or 145 or under any other provision of this Constitution, you know. So I think for those who are really imagining that Gen Z are pushing for an unconstitutional means of achieving their objective, I think they imagine that you guys have not read this. Is that true, Shakira?
Actually, one of the popular songs we sing when we're on the streets is Tumesoma Katiba Tukaelewa.
Yeah.
If there is a generation of young people, we were taught the new constitution when we were growing up, because that is 2010 is when it was coming up. And we have read the constitution and we understand it. And even now we have that free accessibility on our phones. If you have any questions, you have AI and GPT that can explain things to you. So we have read the constitution and we understand what it means to be a citizen of this country and what is required of leaders of this country. And we have seen and we are expressing to the leadership right now that we have seen they are failing at constitutionalism, hawatekelezi katiba. Na sisi tunahitaji viongozi ambao wanatekeleza katiba.
You know, the current politicians have no idea that this generation are not afraid of the presidency like the older generation, who you could not even mention the name of the president. You could not mention the name of the president. Just to imagine that the president can resign was unthinkable. But now you and us, we have access to the constitution, and it is possible that actually a new dawn of Kenya is here. And they say that siku ya nyani kufa, kila mti uteleza. It doesn't matter which trees they hang on to, whether it's the tree of tribalism or the tree of this or that. Siku ya nyani kufa, kila mti huteleza. Ademba, give me your final comments, and then Shakira, you give me your final comments. Then we bring this show to a wrap.
My final comment. We have 2.5 years to verify our leaders, not politicians. I love to use leaders. We have 2.5 years to verify who we are going to elect in the next general elections. And I know they are going to even be by-elections very soon. And that's when we are going to have a litmus test on what is going to happen in 2027, because we have a lot of by-elections that are coming in. So when we are going to do this thing, please do your due diligence and make sure that whoever you are electing to represent you in the government is somebody that you know in 5 years to come is going to change the country for better, for the better. You know, and also I have also to encourage people that June 25th is coming. It's still your day to come and commemorate over 60 people that we lost on that day. And if you just want their name, we have a couple of them. We have Rex Masai, we have Denzel Omondi, we have Eric Shieni, we have Erickson Mutisia, we have the one that we recently lost, we have Albert Ojwang, and we have many more. So on June 25th, please come to the street to commemorate these people. And also do your due diligence when it comes to electing possible leaders. And also to the younger generation, you are in a position to be elected as MCS, as MPs, as governors, women rep, senators. So if you feel like you are in a position to vie for these seats, please come out and give us your manifestos, agendas, or why you think that we are in a position. We should elect you to be in this position. So it's up to you to determine the kind of leadership that we are going to have 2027.
Okay.
We are the reflection of what is going to happen come 2027, next general election, and the by-election that are coming.
Okay. Shakira?
My message is to all Kenyans. The Constitution begins with all sovereign power belongs to the people. And we are the people. Is this the camera?
Yeah.
We are the people. We need to understand the kind of power that we hold within our citizenship. And we need to take this power responsibly. And we need to make a decision on which direction we want our country to go. It's not rocket science, to be honest. It's not rocket science. It's as simple as mimi kama mwenye nchi ninatekeleza majukumu yangu kama mwenye nchi.
All right. How can the audience connect with you? How do they find you, your social media handles, your details?
Okay, I go by the name Ademba Alans across all social media platforms. Okay. Ademba Alans. Everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Ademba Alans.
Okay. You said you have an event. How can the audience support your event? Where do they get the ticket? When is the next edition happening?
The next edition is happening next month, possibly on 14th. August 14th, not okay. Next month, August 14th. And it's going to happen again at Vibanda Village. The poster is not out yet, but we are going to roll out the poster, and we usually sell our tickets at Hustle Sasa. Yeah. And the link is always on our bio, but you can as well check our pages to see the work that we have been doing. If you are a vendor outside there who would be interested to vend in this event, you're welcome. The registration link is still on the bio. And if you are a fashion designer, if you are a fashion influencer who is just looking to connect with these people, please join us for the next event. And it's Vibes and Thread on Instagram and Vibes and Threads on TikTok.
All right. Thank you so much. Shakira, how can our audience find you? How can they connect to the amazing work that you do, especially the fitness work?
I wanted to say Shakira Afula, but then I've remembered there are a lot of impersonators. But my art is Fittermined, FIT_ERMINED. And I wish I was focusing only on fitness, but right now when you come to my pages, you'll see fitness with a pinch of human rights defense, with a pinch of motherhood, with a pinch of biking. I'm also a biker.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's connect, let's interact and be kind. Ukiniongelesha vibaya mimi na block. I have a block list of almost 1,000 people. I block very quickly. Yeah.
All right. Of course, thank you so much for, taking your time to come to this show. Your insights are really valuable, and I hope that we build a country brick by brick using these ideas and these energies, and of course we collaborate more so that we can actually live in the country that we want. And of course, coming from me as the host, Danist Odo, my goodness. What's up, man? Anyway, coming from me, Danish Odongo, the host, sitting in for Mark Masai. Of course, it's been such a fantastic conversation with Wafula Shakira and, of course, with Ademba. And, of course, the conversation really was just about how the landscape for our politics has changed, that now we are directly engaging with our institutions and we are removing the politicians out of the equation. June 25th is coming, and, of course, we are hoping to see you in the streets. Be peaceful, stay safe, and, of course, let us not lose hope, because a country that we want will be built one day, and it is built through the sweat and tears of active citizens. Adios, and may God bless you.
Thank you.